Lena pulled a box of leftover rice from the fridge and picked out 2 eggs. Once the peanut oil had coated the bottom of the pan, she cracked the eggs straight in and began to stir-fry. When the eggs were about 80% cooked, she poured in the cold rice to mix everything together. Meanwhile, Sean was clearly much more refined. He started by melting butter in the pan. Then, when the eggs were barely set, he tossed in some Argentine shrimp for extra flavor. He added peas and diced carrots for color, then folded in freshly cooked rice. One dish was slowly cooked over low heat, the other seared over a blazing flame. Before long, 2 very different plates of fried rice were ready. One looked rich in color, aroma, and flavor. The other was dry, but each grain was perfectly separated. Everyone thought the outcome was obvious. Mike took a spoonful of Lena's fried rice, held it under his nose to take in the smell, then immediately told Sean to pack up and go home. Sean had no idea why he'd lost, but a legendary chef who had held the top spot for years wasn't about to waste words on a junior cook. Instead, he raised his hand and smacked Sean across the face, then turned to Lena and revealed the secret to making delicious fried rice, that leftover rice from the night before. Even though Lena had won the contest, she was still covered in the smell of stir-fried noodles, which felt completely out of place in this kitchen. After cleaning herself up, she looked in the mirror and couldn't help but smile. But slicing top-grade A5 Wagyu beef into paper-thin 2mm slices was a whole new challenge for her. Just holding the knife and figuring out how to cut the meat got her scolded by Mike over and over. If the heat was too high, it ruined the delicate taste of the ingredients. The cooking techniques Lena had once been so proud of now looked like fatal flaws in Mike's eyes. And if she couldn't meet his standards, she'd have to pack up and leave. Feeling humiliated, Lena almost gave up right then and there. But when she thought about the filthy street stall she'd come from, she decided to take one last shot. Alone in the kitchen, she practiced like a maniac. When she finally debuted her dish, everyone was impressed. The assistants carefully arranged the plates, just a small spoonful of beef blood sauce and a delicate roll of cooked beef. That was all it took to create a lavish feast for the wealthy elite. To the untrained eye, the ingredients seemed simple, but Mike's reputation transformed them into an expensive delicacy. The nobles devoured the beef, savoring every bite, even licking the last traces of blood from their plates. Watching them gorge on this raw, bloody meal, Mike, who had grown up in poverty, knew he had achieved his goal of taking revenge on the rich. That same day, an ordinary family who'd waited 3 years finally got their reservation at the restaurant. But when Mike tasted their dish during the final check, he took just 1 sip of the French consommé before dumping out the entire pot. He filled it up again straight from the tap, without adding a single ingredient, except 2 packets of instant noodle seasoning. Coming from nothing, the family of 3 didn't suspect anything was off. They slurped up the hard-won delicacy with grateful smiles. Back in the kitchen, Mike flew into a rage. The little girl had a severe seafood allergy, and the sous chef had carelessly tossed a big shrimp into the soup. As Mike shouted at him, the sous chef snapped and lunged with a knife. Mike nearly lost everything: his reputation, his career, and ended up stabbed by his own subordinate. Even in the hospital, he called the meals pig slop. Lena visited, bringing a plate of stir-fried noodles she claimed was made with love, a secret family recipe passed down through generations. But after just 1 bite, Mike rattled off every seasoning she'd used. For someone who'd gained both fame and fortune, the idea of food cooked with love simply didn't exist. Lena walked out into the street, her dreams of becoming a celebrated chef suddenly feeling empty and uncertain. When she got home, she learned her father had collapsed from exhaustion. The hospital bed she'd fought so hard to secure would cost every last cent she'd saved. Then, the TV switched to a news report. The little girl with the terminal illness, whose family had borrowed money at extortionate rates to grant her final wish of a fancy dinner, had died. The 3 of them were now all gone. Staring at the screen, Lena felt a wave of shock. She realized they were the same family she'd served just days before. One blow after another had finally opened her eyes to the cruel, staggering gulf between rich and poor in this world.